Hello, Avine, your soul coach here, talking to you from one super sensitive soul to another. You may be feeling a need for personal, intimate space with yourself right now. When we are in need of deeper healing, we will often push people away. We'll often require extra space in our environment so that we can reconnect with our own aura, our own energy field, and not be influenced or not be tainted by other people's energy. So, as we all know, being an empath, we can often, some of us consciously, some of us unconsciously, dip into other people's auras, other people's energy field. And it can get mixed up with our own feelings and we can get confused. That confusion, if it's not cleared and released and brought back into the truth of your own energy, over time will cause trouble. That confusion, if not managed, over time can lead to feelings of powerlessness, a lack of direction, fogginess, spaciness, ungroundedness, and a feeling of, where am I going? What direction do I take now? Because if you're constantly being bombarded with other people's ideals, emotions, and opinions, as an empath, that can become very overwhelming. When you feel overwhelmed, you've let it get way too far. It's gone too deep into your energy field. That's when you know it's chronic and it's time to step back and to move away and to take that space for yourself. Now, ideally, if you can physically go and take a retreat somewhere, if you can stay with a friend for a few weeks, or you can rent a place up in the mountains to give yourself that sanctuary, this is a wonderful way to spend some time in solitude, in that sacred space of you with your higher self, with your inner being, or whatever you wish to call that. There is tremendous grace to be found in that stillness and in that meditative space. We don't always have the opportunity to take that time. We don't always have a chance to retreat to somewhere that, especially now with COVID and the pandemic, some of us are having to stay within the 5 kilometers. I'm in that situation. With Ireland, we are in lockdown level 5, which is really strict. So if you're not able to take some physical, like change in your environment, that you have some space on your own. If you have children, if you're not able to give that to yourself, you can give it to yourself energetically. What I mean by that is, perhaps you can, if there's a spare room, you can tell your loved ones you need some space. And don't be afraid to affirm and express that boundary. I find sensitive souls are really afraid to instill and hold to their boundaries. So if you need to take that space and you have an extra room in the house where you can do that, by all means go and do that. If that's not the case, make sure every day, and you should be doing this anyway because it is helpful, you are sealing up your energy field. So you can imagine that, you know, those big puffy puffer jackets, you can imagine that you're zipping on this like cocooning puffer jacket that is like insulation for your aura, and it keeps you sealed in to your own vibration, your own frequency. And you do that every morning when you get up, and you also do it at night before you go to sleep. Many of us have a good habit of doing that in the morning before we go out into the world. Not so much before we go to sleep. But when you are going into dream time, you are also going into another world. So when you're going out into the world, into the physical world of your waking dream, your life, you understand the need to seal in your chakras, to seal in the aura. But the same applies when you're going to sleep. So when you are retiring, you remind yourself, I'm now going into another world, other dimensions, other timelines. When I go to sleep, I could be in the astral planes, which is akin to wandering around some nasty, city that's not very safe, because the astral planes, I'm not saying all the astral planes are nasty, because they're not, but there are places in the astral planes that you don't want to be floating around without protection, without a sense of knowing your way back home. Because we pick up things in our sleep and in our dream time every bit as much as we do in our waking dream, our physical life. I think this is something that many people don't know. If you know this, that's wonderful, and I hope that this reminder helps you to use that tool in the morning before you start your day, and again when you're winding down for nighttime. Maybe connected to brushing your teeth. That's a good practical way to remember. So when you're brushing your teeth, oh yeah, I brushed my teeth. Now it's time for me to seal up, to put on my insulation energy jacket that protects me from other people's vibrational weather. Because we're all very, very heightened in our sensitivity, in our intuition right now. And it's very easy to get pulled into other people's dramas and pains and depressions and anxieties, because our everyday structure of life has been demolished. So there's more time and space to get distracted and to be pulled into other people's ideals and other people's desires of where they want your attention to go. You may have people around you who are pulling for your attention. This is a perfect time for you to learn to say no. It's not wise for me to be distracted by this other person's need for attention when you know it's negative in nature and ultimately they're going to drain you. Boundaries are especially potent themes right now. If you are quarantining with people that you do not feel a vibrational match to, you might be in a house share, you might be renting with other tenants who you didn't choose but the landlord chose, or you could be with family members that really don't vibe with you in the same way. Creating this space in your aura and staying in your own energy field will greatly enhance your well-being and your comfort during this cocooning period. When you zip up the jacket, make sure you give yourself plenty of space. Make sure you do your breath work in there and you push out the aura and you give yourself enough light in there and space that feels expansive, comfortable, and well. You should be feeling well in this. That's the whole point. If you meet people who you can feel are trying to penetrate, they're trying to find a little hole in your armor, you can just really visualize that light getting really bright and really, really high frequency. And you'll find that the conversation, they don't get to hook in, because the conversation is you're extending, you're holding a space for yourself in the light. So they won't be a match to that. And by the laws of physics, by the laws of resonance or law of attraction, same thing, by the way, they will have to peter out of your experience. I have found the boundary thing in my younger years extremely difficult, and still do at times. But a little trick I've given myself with the boundaries is now I've flipped my definition of it. So when I have to instill a boundary with someone and I feel it's important that I express that boundary, and that more important than expressing the boundary is actually physically taking action on it. So it's one thing to say, no, I don't have time right now, or no, thank you. No, I don't want to have this experience. But if you're not backing that up with action, it means nothing. And the other person will know that. The universe knows that, because the universe is not reacting to this. You know, lip service doesn't work with the universe, and it doesn't work with your frequency. And it doesn't work with people, because people, whether they know it or not, are vibrational beings, and they're always reading and picking up on your frequency. So if you're just talking the talk, the universe will reflect that back to you, and you'll actually really attract more and more experiences where your boundaries are being trampled. So you have to walk the walk, and you have to back it up with active motion. So physically leaving the conversation, physically leaving that environment, physically not answering the phone or not replying to that email. These are all things that, you know what they say, and it's so true, actions speak louder than words. They really do. It's not your words that people are feeling from you. It's this, it's what you're giving off. It's the vibrational frequency that's emanating from you at all times. So this is a great time to do what I do regarding, as I was saying about, I've changed my definition. Now I actually see it like, I make it like fun. I make it like a little game. So it's like, oh, this person wants to take up my time and I don't have the time right now. Or this person wants to take my energy and it doesn't feel good to me to do that. So I play this little game with myself and I say, okay, I'm just going to have fun playing the role of somebody who's got really good boundaries. And by playing with that definition, it gives my subconscious permission to actually take the action that an empowered person in their clear boundaries would take. So it's like I'm slowly adapting to that role. So somebody came to visit unannounced, unexpected, and I was needing to focus on my work. I knew that I had a client shortly, and I knew that if I engaged with that person on a deep level, which I like to be really present, and you probably notice this too, you want to be really 100% present with everybody you engage with. And I'd rather not engage with someone than give them like 50%, 60%. It's like, with me, it's all or nothing. So I thought to myself, well, okay, let's play with this. Let's be that Avine that has good boundaries, that Avine that loves herself, that respects her time and energy, and that takes action, that backs up what she truly wants in her heart of hearts at this time. So I was able to do that, and I was able to let that person engage with the other person. I made them a cup of tea, I brought them in some biscuits, I spoke with them for a short time, wished them well, and then I said, I have work to do, and I excused myself. And I went upstairs and got organised. And I did this, and in the past that would have pained me because I would have felt guilty, I would have felt shame, I would have felt, oh, you know, this person really wants, I can feel they want to talk to me, I can feel they're looking for someone to hook onto right now. And I would have sacrificed my sanity, my energy, and my time and my day to satisfy that need, because I, as a sensitive, can feel the need of that person. But you've got to remind yourself, just because you can feel their need does not mean you have to fulfill it. Just because you can psychically pick up on what a person wants from you doesn't mean you have any obligation to answer the call, to respond in a way that they want you to, or to give them what they want. You don't owe other people what they want, but you do have responsibility to taking care of what you want and what you care about and what matters in your life. That's where your responsibility is. And as long as you're honouring that and taking care of that, the other stuff will fall into place. And people will respect you. People will understand and respect the fact that you're your own person. If they feel they can plop their backside down on top of you whenever they're bored, or they need a pick-me-up, or they need a sprinkling of your magic fairy dust, they will abuse that time and time again. So I'm reminding you of the importance of space for yourself, space in your own energy field. And also, just because you have a gift of picking up people's energy and picking up what they're feeling and needing and what they want, what they desire, does not mean you have to, fly in there and answer all their prayers, because that's not your job. And so many empaths from children have been taking on that role and hurting themselves and devastating their lives. I mean, it seems like such a subtle thing, but it has drastic consequences in a person's life when you're dropping your priorities, dropping the important things of your work, your purpose, and flying out to pick up the pieces for every passerby who calls wolf. And even if they're not just crying wolf, even if it's, something genuine, you're human. You're not always going to be turned on. You're not always going to be available. You're not always going to be able to fix the world and fix people and mend their hearts. You can love them. You can visualize them standing in the light of God under source, being healed and finding their own power. But you can't do it for them. You cannot be the source of power that they plug into every time they're down, because they will use you up until there's nothing left. Look at Edgar Cayce, the very famous Edgar Cayce, who he was told by Spirit that he was seeing too many clients. He was putting himself into a trance, he was channeling, but he was doing it way too much, trying to help way more people than his physical human body and energy was able to cope with. And he ended up dying, I think way earlier than people expected, because he used up his life force in a way that wasn't balanced. So it's really important you keep a balance. And it's important that you think about your own self-worth and your own value. When you value your energy and you value your gifts, other people will reflect that back to you. That's really important, especially as we are progressing through our lives at this point. And whatever time you're watching this video, that's that's a pivotal message for you on your life path right now. Self-value, valuing your time, valuing what you bring, your uniqueness, your unique gifts you bring to the world. And how do you show that respect and honor to yourself? So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and I'll speak to you soon.